The kids being dumb.
No, if we came and watched both of you play today, you know, just played the whole, I think he likes Michigan Tech over Oshkosh. But,
Don't overthink it.
but
Just
that's the school,
have a
that's
good
6
time.
hours away.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's my nephew
It's
is
beautiful
in
out
middle
there.
school or any of that yet, but I said, oh, I'm gonna have to teach you how to dance before you know your first dance.
Yeah.
Probably
I
won't.
guess I don't have to no more
Probably
worry
won't
about
have
it.
to.
Okay.
'Cause it's
We're
not-
still gonna,
Oh, do we not need to, so we don't need to record on there?
oh,
I
no,
don't know,
really?
I didn't know.
Probably
We can go with it, just do it just to be safe.
Bobby's the magic number.
Should we start?
You'll be our acting chairman tonight, yes.
I'll call this meeting of the CDA to order, the Tuesday, October 8th meeting. First item is call to order, which we've just done. Roll call is next.
Alderperson Keen,
Here,
Richard Badger,
Present.
Mike Suter,
Here.
Alderman Weigel.
Here.
Wayne Clark.
Yes, thank
We have
you.
a quorum.
Thank you. And approval of the minutes of September 10th meeting.
So moved.
second,
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion, the minutes are approved. First matter for discussion is resolution to amend the 2024 payment standard for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Patrick?
Mr. Chairman, this is something we do annually. Each year, HUD reviews the fair market rent within communities or the MSA statistical areas, metropolitan statistical areas. Sometimes I speak in alphabet soup, I know. But the fair market rents have been published, and you can see the first column, it should have a 4 up above, but the fair market rents are $939 for a studio, $1,056 for a 1-bedroom, $1,257 for a 2-bedroom. And then by HUD standards, we can go up to 120%, but we're recommending 110% of the fair market value for our fair market payment standard for the Section 8 voucher program. So this is the payment standard that we can pay up to in terms of rents for Section 8 within our community. We had a period of time where we were doing 120%. We amended our program to do that because the rents escalated and we were behind in terms of our rents weren't covering all the rent where the rent growth was in our city for our voucher participants. Right now, with the increase in the fair market rent by HUD, we are now coming more in line with now market at 110%. So staff is recommending a payment standard for the next year of 110%.
Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and this will be by roll call vote, correct? Would you call the roll, please?
Wayne Clark,
Yes.
Richard Badger,
Yes.
Alderperson Keen,
Yes,
Alderperson Weigel.
Aye.
Mike Suter.
Yes.
The resolution passes. Thank you. Next item is the discussion regarding the development agreement with 6 Points East LLC and conditions related to public parking. Patrick?
Mr. Chairman, last time we had a discussion about the development agreement that's in place since 2006 relative to the parking lot that is on, it's really 63rd Street behind the 6 Points East condo building. It's around 32 stalls for the development agreement. There should be 32 public parking stalls. The 6 Points Condo Association did send us an email, and that's why I put it on the agenda last time. Just for clarification purposes, I sent the email out to all members of the CDA. And there continues to be some concern, making sure that you're informed about their proposal. And their request to have 12 stalls be designated for the 6 Points East Condo Association. Without knowing how that ground floor will ever get leased or occupied, as staff, we were recommending that we maintain the 32 public spaces. But we compromised and said we'd be willing to do 6 stalls. We had a meeting with a representative from the 6 Points Condo Association and the alderman of the district, and it seemed like that was the consensus that we would go forward. Now, it's not on tonight's agenda to designate the 6 parking stalls. That would be an amendment to the development agreement. Since 2006, the entities that actually own it have all transitioned, and there's a new condo association that maintain and do the maintenance of that parking lot. So we have to figure out how we would amend the development agreement with a new entity and I haven't met with Kale about that yet. There is a representative from the condo association here tonight, and I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if you want them to share any insight or thoughts about their proposal, but they are available here for any comments.
You said there's at least a tentative agreement between the condo association?
Yes, I believe we have a compromise for 6 parking stalls.
I was told that or nothing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was told that or nothing.
Oh, okay.
6 or
well,
nothing.
All right. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Sure, I'd like to discuss it. Like I say, I had been in contact about this since July, and I wasn't aware of the meeting that took place in September. So I didn't have a ability to do that. I did submit a 3-page proposal. I know that 6 sentences of that were forwarded to you, but not the entire proposal. So I don't know if you have the entire proposal.
We received the entire proposal.
I think so.
So, but I don't know. I mean, I'd be happy to discuss it further. I don't know if that's possible or not. Because I know, Patrick, and we've been talking about it, you said that protect the commercial area, but that's what we had proposed, the 12 spaces for residential and commercial area. Again, I don't want to make too long of this, and it's up to you how many questions and that, but this is an agreement in 2006, and what's going on is next door to us, that entire block is being developed and taking away the public parking from that and assigning it to that development, and that development is going to assign their own residential parking spaces, but we are not being allowed to, other than the possible 6, assign any spaces to ours. So a lot that we've maintained for 18 years, including we just spent $6,000 on resurfacing it, and we are owners, so we actually pay taxes ourselves. I pay $6,000 a year in taxes and an additional $5,000 a year in maintenance fees to keep that up. And we're concerned that we're not going to be able to park as residents ourselves on our own lot on busy times, because those streets, once it gets 5 o'clock, fill up with opposite side parking. And so if the business is going to be there, it's going to have a cafe, and the residents from that business, they can go park in our lot. So I'm just advocating as best as I can for whatever we can get. And I guess I just have one question too. Is this agreement into perpetuity? Because I know that the philosophy behind it is that that land was, I believe, sold to the developer for $1 with the agreement on the lot. It's been 18 years that we maintain, pay for snow removal, landscaping and everything. Is there a point where that cost benefit, doesn't supersede? I don't know what the legal parts of that. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on it, but.
Authority members, we all have copies. We've heard the discussion. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Chair, I have some questions.
Sure, please.
How many units in the condo?
We have 41 units, and then the whole ground floor, 25% of it is for commercial space.
Okay, and
which,
how much parking is there?
32 spots.
And,
Underground.
We have underground also.
okay, and how many underground?
That's a good question. I think it was 78, but then 6 of those are designated for commercial, and then 4 of them for handicap too. So
So it's
Still
about
70.
it's about 1.25 per
Which is
unit.
which is actually, I think, more than what we're doing on our apartments that we're doing now. That's,
Sure.
that,
But,
you know, and then,
again, we're owners.
I understand that.
And
And the ground floor, what's the zoning on it? There's only been a couple of tenants in there over the years.
yeah, and I know that's one of the concerns, that if you're a business going to look into be there and there's 32 spaces, and then now that's public parking, what can you count on as a business as having?
Right.
That's why I proposed 12. I thought, well, at least if we had for the commercial and the residents had that strip there where they can at least count on that, and then we will have for the employees of the commercial can have the inside parking that they are allowed to have by bylaws.
And I understand conditions are going to change with the development of the block to the west, but how often is that parking lot currently full with what I'll call the legitimate users?
This is really similar. The similarity that I was told was Sona and Summit Place. And all of theirs and ours currently now have signage that say it's private parking only and you will be towed. So in all three of those locations, it's the same, even though Sona has agreement to have public parking, they have it listed as private parking only, and we do too. So for this 18 years, nobody understood it to be public parking, and we as the board didn't even know this until about 2 years ago when we were cited for a car in the lot. And then we started working with the city attorney saying, well, what's the rights here? Because, you know, they said that the city wouldn't ticket the car, but we were responsible for it, you know, for like an abandoned car. And so up until now, 2 years ago, we weren't even aware of this agreement, and it was never enforced.
Okay.
That's because of the transition and all.
Right, right.
Yeah, so, and it isn't a issue until you take away the public parking, and now we're gonna have greater need in that area, but
Well,
the city
hopefully
is
we
taking-
will.
I agree.
I like a busy neighborhood. I like all the parking lots full. I don't like empty parking lots.
You know, and I want to emphasize too that, you know, we came to that first meeting of the development, and I'll be honest, we weren't happy about it, and then we sat with the developer and the development commission, and we decided to support it. And we, as a matter of fact, had a meeting with the developer, informal meeting at Oak, to invite our residents to say, we think we should support this, and that's when we first heard about the fact that now that was going to be considered parking for them too, for that commercial development, that they could park in our lot.
Well, it wouldn't be
Can I
just for
add-
them, it'd be
I wanna
public.
add clarification to that.
Correct.
Okay.
It might be construed that way. I mean, anybody can park in that
Right,
parking
it's
lot.
correct.
It's
Yes.
public. So
Yeah.
if I went to Epicos Church,
Yeah.
if I went to the new cafe in the new building,
Yeah.
it's fine. Because
be a
that-
public lot.
The reason why that was
Yeah.
put in as a public parking spot or lot behind the condo, it was a public parking lot. And the project didn't meet the parking needs for the commercial space, so it wasn't, the value of that was incorporated into the overall development.
Right.
So, I mean, how things transition over time,
Mr.
The
Chair,
transition you're doing is taking away city public parking, though. That's what you're doing with the
That's the
development.
new place.
The new place is going to be assigned only for them. That's not public parking. They are going to assign, and also with Sona, they are allowed to assign parking for their employees and their residents. They're allowed to. So as Summit Place has parking assigned for their commercial.
But again, Summit parking ratio is lower than yours.
What do you mean?
You said you have like 1.25 with your underground.
Well, Summit doesn't have residential, right?
I guess-
That's only commercial.
Well, yeah.
ignore if we look at the sign, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if we take away the signage, the concept at Sona is commercial buildings with public parking, daytime parking, and then you can't overnight park. Because there's gonna be people coming and going out of that parking lot on land that is privately owned. And you can park there for the farmer's market. Yes, they have signs up that say private parking in certain areas, but there are signs that say, and we know we have this in the agreement, that we have a designated area for farmer's market parking. That was the agreement before the CDA and with the developer. At Summit Place, it's not the parking just outside the front door of the Summit Place office complex. It's the two CDA-owned parcels in that area they're leased by Summit Place, maintained, plowed, anything with them is all by that development agreement. We just own the land. They maintain everything on that site, and the public can park there. People from, we can park there, the 6600 property can park there. The idea was to create a parking field in order for the development to meet the parking ratio requirements for lending purposes. So in this particular case, that's what the same thing we did with the condo building in 2006, was invest that parking lot into it, so it met all the parking requirements to attract private financing.
Dana, you have
Just
something?
the history of that.
based on, we've had the discussion on this, I think, over 3 meetings now. The alderpersons of that district had a recommendation of the parking. And I think that we should move to allow the 6 parking as the max, based on all the prior discussions we've had. I don't think there's a point to compare. There's different agreements that happens at different times with different developers. So I would move to approve the amendment
And then we'll
of the
come back
developer
with that
agreement
amendment at a future meeting.
with what the alderpersons of that district
Are
recommend.
we able to do that this evening?
Yeah, it's just a directive that do that, make that amendment, and then I get it drafted and then bring it back for actual.
Is there agreement to have Patrick move in that direction?
Yeah. I mean, it's on here as a discussion item only, so.
Pardon me?
It's on here as a discussion item only anyways.
You can provide a directive
Yeah.
by then, so.
So clarify, where are we? You're going to draft the document?
Yes.
All right. Then we'll move on to item number 4, discussion relative to the development agreement of, no, that's already done.
Yep.
Number 4 is discussion on 6901 West Beloit Road and the proposed construction of a single-family home.
I only, just so you know, the Czar's Bar has been demolished, the site is
Saw that.
clear. It looks a lot better already, so. The reason why I put this on the agenda is, if you look, it's 2 parcels currently. And the measurements of those parcels are there. 54 by 46 is the
Short
one to the
West.
west, and then the one that's 50 by 88 is the one to the east. So our goal was to build a single-family house using our home funds on that. It would be an affordable house. So with a garage coming off of 69th Street. And then when we would put the other parcel up for sale, and most likely it'd be a small house, probably without a garage, but it would be another opportunity for someone to build an affordable house. Now, that's the strategy. There are people that have inquired, can we build a 4-family there? I'm just bringing it to your attention. We have had inquiries. I've also had inquiry about, can we buy to build a single-family house, and they want both parcels. But, just wanted to share that. I want to reiterate, our directive is to go out and do an RFP for construction of a single-family house on the eastern parcel, and then we'll put the other one up for sale.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
So if we build a house using home funds, it's going to be spend X, sell it for 0.7X.
We usually kind of do a scale, figure out where 80% of the county median income and what they
Right.
can afford. We do lose money, but
Yeah.
that's why we get the federal
Yeah.
dollars to create the
But
affordable house.
and that's what the money's for.
Right.
But if someone wanted to combine the lots and do a larger single-family home, they'd be 100% on their dime?
Mm-hmm.
And so then, that's a possibility?
We told the Milwaukee County when we purchased it from, we had the goal of creating an affordable house on the site. And I think that's been our consensus internally when we've discussed this at meetings. The only reason I bring it up, because the 4-family was brought up, tax base, and I wanted to make certain that we're all on the same, because we're now gonna draft an RFP for the construction of the single house and try to get that going before the end of the year. So if that position changes,
No.
based on what I've shared with you today, I wanted to make certain we're on the same page.
Are we on the same page, folks?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess so.
We are. Thank you. Next is discussion on the status of Markers Row development.
We'll do that one in closed session.
Closed session, thank you. Next, discussion regarding the status of 6771 West National Avenue. Is that closed session or here?
No, we can do that.
We can do that in
Open, Mr. Chairman. and
Okay.
Sean will.
Sean, please go ahead.
Brief update on this. Their architect, they're working with Kabala Washatka architectural firm. They've put together the full set of plans for the inside and outside and have submitted them to the National Park Service and the State Historic Preservation Officer for review. I should say the plans are completed and they hope to be submitted by the end of the week. That the National Park Service and State Historic Preservation Officer then has 60 days to review the plans, provide comments, and typically there's a little bit of back and forth after that, but that's,
So we should hear something before the end of the year.
yes.
Anything else? Move on to the next item, please, which is discussion of the status of 1405 South 92nd Street.
We'll have more discussion on this in closed session, but in public, the city has purchased the note from Tri-City Bank for 1405 South 92nd Street, it's the former St. Al's Church. So the borrower continues to make payments on that note, just as any different than if your mortgage was sold at home, et cetera. We do not own the land. Cardinal Capital, or the entity that, legal entity that actually owns that site, remains the owner of that site. They are on a payment plan to make payments, and that note expires in December.
Thank you.
That's all I can share in the public at this time.
And how about number 8, discussion regarding the redevelopment area located at 1300 South 65th Street?
We just wanted to share that the broker reached out to us as staff, asking if the CDA has any interest in acquiring the parcel. It is currently listed for $2.1 million. It's around 6 acres of land. It's an old industrial foundry site. We've talked about this site before, and I just wanted to bring it before you again. They're asking if we want to make an offer. We can talk about it a little bit further in closed session. But one of the tools that we use on these brownfield sites is the EPA revolving loan fund, and we got awarded another $1 million for our fund. So in 5 years, we have close to $4.5 million that we've invested in various projects. So another $1 million. This could be a loan to a developer to clean up soils, to address cleanup at a brownfield site. So, and you might be familiar with this at some of our development agreements. We've invested that. We're even using some of that in our DPW facility at a low interest rate in order to help save the West Allis taxpayers money on the development of our new DPW facility. So,
Thank you. We'll move on to number 9, consideration relative to the report on redevelopment initiatives. Anything from either staff or
just
authority?
Just a quick one. When we drafted TIF number 17, which is the Holiday Inn Express on 102nd and Lincoln, we have a general broader area in that area in terms of the district of the TIF. We also wrote in the TIF plan to do economic development incentives within a half mile. And there are some funds reserved in the TIF plan to do that. We do have a loan request coming from an escape room business that's moving into the Piggly Wiggly Town Center. And the reason why we present it here, because if we use CDBG funds, we get into the federal requirements of building out space, and it requires prevailing wage and
Davis-Bacon.
and it becomes challenging. The question is this, we have done loans from TIFs to like Oak Brewery and other Reunion and things like that to help spur investment in an area. Is this something that we should, they just got approval from WIBIC, and what was the other funding source? There was another loan.
There was another smaller funding source as well.
Yes.
I don't recall, but this would bridge the gap for what they need to complete the
Their
project.
construction costs came in higher than budgeted. I hear that on a lot of loans. But is this something that we should look at maybe using TIF dollars for, or in this case, or is it something bigger when we do economic incentives that you would like to see? It's more of a public policy thought.
How many jobs?
Probably 2 or 3.
Two or
It's
three.
not a high job creation, something like this.
My personal would be for higher, yeah.
Something higher value to the
developments, higher
community.
value to the community, considering what we have to go through for the lending process.
Okay.
What space are they going in?
It's 2 tenant spaces within the town. So, I mean, the same question we posed, let's just say if it was the Piggly Wiggly that moved out. I think, I'm not saying.
That's a different story.
Right, okay.
So we're going to look for a higher use, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, then,
Another thing, there was a nice feature in the Business Journal about Nova Nessus, which is Chris Hansen. In the last 5 years, they've invested over $165 million. This is one of our TIF districts. They have 10 to 15% growth in their employment. And in an article, they talked about another $100 million investment. I don't know what that is. I have to research that, but this came out so quick yesterday that, and it was a long feature about the business, and seeing that in West Allis, the big thing to note is 2 to 3 billion people a day consume a product influenced by Nova Nessus. So West Allis has a global impact, and we did a TIF district in this area to help that expansion of Chris Hansen, now Nova Nessus, at that time. So negative 67 degrees
Big freezer.
Fahrenheit, right? Yeah. Freezer is one of the coldest freezers in North America. So here in West Allis.
Thank you, Patrick. Colleagues, any other items on the redevelopment report that you'd like to talk about? There being none, we're going to move into closed session for agenda items,
Five
I
and
guess,
seven.
5 through 8. Well, 5, 7, and 8. The committee may convene in closed session pursuant to the provisions of Section 1985-1E of the state statutes for the purpose of delivery and the investment of public funds whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The committee may reconvene in open session after completion of the closed session to consider the balance of the agenda. Is there a motion to go to closed session?
So moved.
Second.
And those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're in closed session. Thank you.
all the way into here for a 45-minute meeting?
44.
Well-run meeting, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Sorry we had a small
Thank you.
agenda. It's just
You're really,
not enough substance yet.
you're really proud of that, Wade.
Well, we were trying to achieve
The
30
air is
minutes.
on.
It says on air, yeah.
We're all done.
Well, thank you,
Patrick,
folks.
what's going in on the furniture place across the street?
That's Wally from the Deco.
Yeah, what's he